and the total amount that we are in debt is $3,031,000. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Derek, aka Flippingahouse, and if you're new here, we talk real estate, financial literacy, and just how to get better. And today I thought it would be good if I just pull back the curtain and show you guys an inside look at our business. Over the last couple months, we've really been full steam ahead as we wanted to finish Q1 strong, and I thought it would be a really good time to talk with you guys about all the deals that we have going on, all the debt that I'm in, some of the good, a lot of the bad, and just give you guys a peek inside of my business and what it looks like when you're flipping full-time and running a full-fledged investment business as an entrepreneur. So stick around, it's going to be a good one. So many times we see these people on social media and they say they're doing all these numbers and they talk about all they're doing, but you never get an inside look at what's really going on in their business. So I think this is a great time to just break it all down for you guys. So I'm literally going to go down the list of properties that we have currently that we own and those that we have under contract and talk about everything that's going on with the deal. Some I'm going to breeze through because they're not that exciting, and some I'm going to dive into pretty deep. So it might be a little lengthy of a video, but it's going to be very informational for you guys, and there's going to be a lot of gems in here. So let's get to it. Now, I think it's only right that we start with our most problematic property that we have, and that is Providence Street. As you guys know, Ben and I had this crazy idea about 2 years ago to get into Airbnb, and we thought, hey, we'll just buy these properties, we'll BRRRR, and then we'll do Airbnb, and it'll be a walk in the park. Well, we purchased these properties in December of 2020, and if you've looked at a calendar recently, it's April of 2022, and we have put it on Airbnb and we started making money finally. However, we do have holding costs from the last 2 years, and we are, at the final process and steps of doing the refinance. So we will be able to get out of that loan, and we're going to have to do some modification, and we may have to pay our lender a separate note. But, that's what's going on with this deal. And to be honest, there's so many lessons that we've learned over the last 2 years. This was such an overhaul of the homes because we basically went down to the studs and, changed the floor plans, went completely new. So there's so much to dive into that I'll make a separate video on just that property alone because it is our first Airbnbs, and there's so much that we learned that I want to share that in detail with you guys. Next, we have our property on Brushfield, and that is the Sugarland property. If you guys have seen me talk about maybe in this video. And this is a property that we got through an SEO lead. This was a fire damaged house. This was our first fire damaged property that we've ever worked on. And it's been a learning lesson as well. And right now the numbers are pretty good. We picked that house up for around $177,000. We'll end up putting around $75,000 into that home. And right now as it sits completely fixed up, it's worth about $325,000. And we're really gonna try to push the $330,000 as we go into the summer months and I list it in the next couple of weeks. But it's actually a pretty simple deal. Once the seller contacted us, we closed in about 2 weeks. And then we started the rehab process. We had some delays because we had to replace the roof, and that took a couple of weeks with the weather. But other than that, we're back on track. We're about 6.5, 7 weeks into that project, and we should be complete in the next week. And then we're actually going to do a pop-up event. So if you guys are in Houston, hopefully you made it out by the time this video goes live. But we're going to we're going to talk about the deal and just show you guys an open look at what it looks like to do a flip. That deal is pretty simple. It hasn't really had too many hiccups, but just want to share it with you guys. Now, the next property I'm going to talk about is on Cypress Wood Trace. I'm not going to lie to you guys, this has been a nightmare property as well, and I'm limited to the information that I can give you just because we are in a lawsuit ongoing with this property, and we purchased it back in July of 2021. But what I can tell you is that it was a couple, they got divorced, and when we went to close, the title company, they cleared something off of the title commitment. That's basically the sheet that you get. It shows all your liens, back child support, just anything that could stop you from closing the property. The title company then removed something that they shouldn't have, and we closed it, and technically we did not have clear title, so I had to get a lawyer involved involved. We had to do a title claim. It's a whole mess, but that's pretty much all I can tell you guys about this property, just because, like I said, it is in a ongoing lawsuit. Next, we have the property on Arapahoe. This is another property that is by downtown Houston, and we bought this property specifically to Airbnb. Well, originally we bought the property for Airbnb, but we were going to rent it out for a year, but then the tenants left. So then we had to change our plan, as we usually do. So we bought this property in November of 2021, and we have fixed the siding on the outside. The property's not in terrible condition. It just needs to be updated. But since it is a triplex, we still have about 25 to 30 grand to put into it. And I had some other properties closing that I'll talk about that we were gonna use the money from that sale to dump into the property. But now those closings haven't happened. So we're kind of at a stall. We just finished the siding on the outside of the property, and in the next week we are just going to end up dumping probably some of our own personal money just to get the deal done, so we can BRRRR and finish the process and refinance out of our hard money loan. Because as we learned with the Providence property, that monthly interest and payments, it adds up, especially when you do that over a long period of time. So that's why these notes are set up to be short and they're high interest, but the idea is that you're overturning the money multiple times. Now, luckily, we have a great relationship with our lenders. They're investors as well, so they understand what we're doing. But I just want to talk to you guys not only about the good, but the bad, and how we're preparing and pivoting when things don't go as planned. As you know, in life, that's never the case. And when you learn real estate, things change every day. Next, we have the property on Bunt Street. This is actually my business partner's rental. So as you guys know, Ben and I are building an Airbnb portfolio together, and then we are acquiring our own portfolio of single family rentals that we usually BRRRR out of. This is a property, he's actually held this property for longer than he anticipated due to, crappy contractors, a lot of lessons, but he is once again at the final steps of the refinance process. He actually had his appraisal yesterday, so things are moving along, and he should be able to get out of that note pretty soon. But that's pretty much all I know, because that is Ben's deal. But we do most of our deals together, some of them separate. Next, we have the property on Gagne. Once again, I can't give you guys too much information about this property because right now it's just a vacant piece of land. This is a development project that we are working on, but that's another one of those I'm going to do a separate video breaking everything down. And since we're so new to the process, there's a lot of things I'm learning, and I don't like to talk about things that I don't really understand. So I'm really just leaning on a couple of my friends who have done new development, or they're currently doing new development. I'm just kind of following in their footsteps. But it is a piece of land that we are subdividing into 4 lots, and we plan on building townhomes. And like I said, in a couple weeks I will make a video as we are getting things solidified with the city and getting our plans turned in, so that I can then start working with the builder to break ground. And I feel like at that time I can really go into detail, because at that part things will be really moving. As of right now, it's just a vacant piece of land that nothing's really happening other than behind the scenes. Next, we have the property on Teeton. This is a property that we purchased from a wholesaler, and it is an amazing deal. But once again, we are going into another lawsuit with the tenants. We went to evict them. Things did not go our way. We do have rights to the house. The title company did everything correctly on this one. But what we didn't realize when we purchased the home is that it was a messy family situation. Yeah, that's all I can really say about the property, because literally this week we went to court. The judge dismissed it for the eviction process. So now we have to go to the higher up court. Ben has been talking with one of our lawyers, and that's kind of where we're at, and that's all I'm limited to say. But it is a really good deal, and when it's all done, I will make a video breaking that down as well. Next, we have the property on Cinnabar. This is one of our A-Leaf properties. As you guys know, when Ben and I first started getting into real estate, our first 2 to 3 flips were actually in A-Leaf. So the fact that it's been about 2.5, 3 years and we have multiple projects going on at the same time over there is just kind of full circle for us, and it makes us really happy. But we got this property through an SEO lead, and if you guys want to see a little bit more detail about the property, check out this video. We talk about the house falling down and all the bad and the good of that deal, but just so you guys have a quick synopsis of what's going on with that property, it was an SEO lead. We locked it up for around $130,000, and we've put at this point about $55,000 into it, and it is worth around $240,000. I'm really hoping that we can push that $245,000, seeing that summer's coming up. And I just walked it today, and my contractor killed it. It looks amazing. So we're finishing up the outside, and we should be able to list next week. But that one's been a pretty seamless deal as we were direct to seller on that one. They actually found us and we put a deal together. Moving on to the next one, we have Loreno Woods. This is a property that we have on the north side of Houston. I think we have 3 over there currently in the Spring area. This was a deal that a wholesaler brought to me, and we locked it up. I've made him an offer, it didn't work, and then he came back to me and we were able to lock it up. We locked that property for $208,000, and I thought it was going to be a hotel property, meaning that we only put about $3 to $5 grand into it and relist it. But as the tenants moved out, I realized there were a lot more things that needed to be done, so I'm actually going to end up spending around $20,000, and that home is worth though $285,000. I think I might be able to get $290,000, but we will see. But still not an amazing deal, but it's a very light rehab. It's easy. It's going to take us about a week and a half before I can get it live. And the creative part of that deal is the seller, they were buying a new house, they needed a lease back, so we let them stay for another month. After we closed, we withheld $5,000 from closing and we made it work, and they were happy. They closed on their new property, they moved out, so I'm actually sending off a check today for the $5,000 to give back to the seller. And yeah, that one, once again, pretty seamless deal. They're not all super complicated as you can see, but yeah, pretty good one. Next, we have the property on Salsworth. This is the A-Leaf number 2 property, and we purchased this property from a wholesaler. I have no idea how this person got my information. I just received an email one day with a property. I think at the time they were asking $165,000 for the property. I was not near that because I had just purchased Cinnabar, so I knew the market pretty well, and we purchased Cinnabar, like I told you guys, for $130,000 or $135,000. So I told him I'd be around $140,000. He told me give him his highest and best. I told him I would do $145,000, and he was like, cool, let's do it. Up next, we have Indianola. This is a property that we recently contracted. This was another SEO lead. Once again, that's search engine optimization. It just means somebody found us on Google at the top pages and decided to give us a call. This was a tenant problem property, meaning that there were tenants in the property. It was another family issue. The title company did their job, but Ben decided he wanted to keep this one as a rental, so he's currently going through the eviction process. We did offer cash for keys, or he did, and they were not interested, so unfortunately we will have to, or he will have to do the eviction process, but it's his rental, so I'll update you guys on that property, but that's about all the information I have on that one. Next, we have the property on Belfort. This is a property down south. It's not in the best neighborhood, but the numbers are really good. We picked up this property from a buddy of mine who wholesales in Houston, and we picked up the property for $94,000. Now, I've already had the property cleaned up. My cleaners went today, and even though it's an older, outdated home, it's still in pretty decent condition with original hardwood floors. We found an extra bedroom that people weren't counting, so that's a plus as well. To be honest with you guys, I'm just gonna throw it back up on the MLS next week for about $125,000. As long as it sells above 120, that's a win, and then we will take that money and dump it into Arapahoe, the triplex that I mentioned earlier. Now, if that doesn't happen, right, and it doesn't sell for what we thought in the first 3 weeks, then we'll take it off the MLS. I will then just flip it because the home completely fixed up like 2022 standard. It's worth about $170,000. So the numbers still work, and then even if that didn't work, we could always BRRRR and refinance out. My point being on that deal is we went in with an initial plan, and the numbers aren't all the way there for the hotel strategy, but we're gonna try it and see, right? You never know unless you try. But if you notice, we have multiple exit strategies, and that's why it's just so important to buy good 70% deals or 70% of the ARV. When I'm looking at my spreadsheet, if you guys see me looking away, that's what I'm looking at here. And I have these categorized by my lenders, right? So that's one of my main lenders. I've worked with him forever. He gives me great deals. And at the end, I will break down the total amount, but with him alone, we are in debt $1,800,000. Now, I think this is a good time to just step in here and let you guys know that I work with multiple private lenders, and they kind of let me do what I want, meaning that I can purchase a property, I can get all the payments on the back end, and on top of that, they'll give me my rehab up front as long as it's around 70 to 75% all in, or what the home is worth, as I mentioned before. Now, with my second lender, the first property that we have is Hillbrook. This is a property that is up north in Conroe, Texas, a growing area on the outskirts of Houston. And it's a very weird situation. See, my lender, they did a loan for this person who was supposed to flip the house, and the lady moved into the house instead of flipping it, and then she only did about $5,000 in repairs that they had given her, and then she just kept requesting a lot more money, and they felt like it was weird because she wasn't making monthly payments. And so after about month 5 of not making any payments, they had rights to foreclose, and that's what they did. Well, seeing that they're not full-time investors, they have jobs and they kind of invest on the side, and then they invest their money. Dealing with the tenant and evicting this crazy person was not something they were willing to do, and I always let my lenders know any way that I can help and also build a relationship with them, and this was the ideal situation. So this is a home that we ended up getting for around $200,000, and we did they foreclosed, they took back the house, we went through closing, we purchased it, and they gave me, I think, like $10,000 on top just in case we wanted to do some repairs. But realistically, we plan on just wholesaling the property and getting this lady out. It's a really nice house on a big lot. It has a lot of space. It's not super outdated, and we feel like we can list it as is for around $250,000 to $260,000 and just take our profit and get in and out and just have to deal with the tenant. Luckily, we are up for eviction court next week. Now, we're still trying to work with the tenant and do a cash for keys situation. We've offered her $1,700. She's agreed to it. She signed the paper, but what she doesn't understand is that we're not giving the money to her unless we have the keys in hand and we know that she is out 100%. So that's what we're waiting on at this point. She's supposed to be out by the weekend, but regardless, if not, we're going to eviction court next week. And at that point, if she's not out, we're not giving her money. The constable will just come kick her out. And it is a very crappy situation, but she knew what she was getting into, and she just decided not to take care of her responsibilities. But it is what it is. And staying up north, we have the other property in Spring, and that is on Broughton Street. This is an interesting property as well because my buddy, I met at a networking event probably 6 months ago, and they mainly sell to hedge funds, but I tell him all the time, if you have deals and it doesn't work for them, just let me get a look at it. And that's exactly what he did. He called me one day, and I was actually in the area, and he was like, hey, would you be interested in this property? And I was like, that has to be fate because I'm already in the area. So the tenants were able to let me in, and I went to take a look at it. And this home isn't in a typical HOA neighborhood. They have huge lots. This home actually comes with over half an acre, which is rare in Houston. It came with a pool that I'm actually fixing, and it's actually going to be a really good project. We picked this home up for around $110,000, and for that size of house, minimum it will sell for $220,000. But I feel like by fixing the pool and spending a decent amount on landscaping, we might even be able to press the $230,000. But we'll see. But even at $220,000, we're still going to be good. And like I said, we purchased for the 110. We're going to be putting about $50,000 to $55,000 into it, so we'll be all in around 165, 170, and then we plan to sell at the 220, and hopefully it gets pushed up to the 230. Just because of that size lot, we've learned on a couple flips that we've done in the past that homes with the half acre lot, people are willing to pay more because it is so rare of a thing to find, especially in today's market. Next, we're going to take it back down south to a property on Jordan Street. This is actually going to be my next rental. As I'm finishing out the refinance on Blacksmith, I thought that it was good that I get another rental going. As I'm finishing up that one, I might as well start another one. And it was very similar. We're getting rid of the garage. We're making it a 4-bedroom instead of a 3-bedroom, and we're going to be adding a bathroom as well. And with this property, at first we were going to flip it or just wholesale it, relist it as is. We got it at a really good number, and we wholesaled a property on the same street about 2 years ago, and we got this property even cheaper than we did that one. So I felt that it was only right that I keep it, and by doing the BRRRR process, I should be able to get a home for practically free once I put all my money in and refi it out, and I may even get paid to buy the home, and it should cash flow, and it's a nice little deal. So we picked that house up, or I did, for $77,000, and my plan is to put around $40,000 into it. And right now there's comps from $180 all the way up to $230,000 for the 4-bedroom. Now, when I run my numbers, I'm running it off the 180 because I always like to plan for the worst case. Now, if I hit the 220 or even 230, that's going to be lovely because I would get paid a lot of money to buy this home. But worst case, I get a home with minimal to $0 out of pocket, and I'm still a happy camper. I mean, that's what real estate is about. And not only that, I get to add the equity to my net worth, so it's a win-win. Now we're gonna take a quick break here because I'm moving on to my third lender, and I hope you guys have really been keeping up, because even though I'm moving fast to these properties, I mean, we've went through a lot of scenarios already for you guys to learn from. But let's get back into it. My third lender, the first property I'm going to talk about is Rainy River. This is a property that I actually purchased from Steven. He's a wholesaler in Houston. If you guys have been following our journey, you know that he's been a part of it for the last year and a half, and he's been crushing it. And this is probably the 8th or 9th property that we've purchased from him. But we picked up this property for $110,000. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this property is a complete shit box. It had been vacant for 7 or 8 years with a huge hole in the roof. And if you guys watched my last video, I actually did a full walkthrough, so check it out here. But it's a really good property, mainly because it's going to be a quick flip, because he did a lot of the work. He, you know, landscaped a big portion of the backyard. We already had a roof done on the home, and my contractor's getting started on the inside. We did have some electrical issues because it had been vacant for so long, so my electrician fixed that. We should have power on in the next 3 to 5 days, and then we'll really be cooking, and it should take us about 3 weeks to honestly complete that rehab. Now, like I said before, it was a shit box, so we're going to be putting a good, you know, $45,000 into this home, maybe a little bit more, just seeing what pops up. But we purchased it for $110. We're gonna say $45,000 to $50,000 into it, and then it's worth around $195,000. Once again, I'm hoping as summer approaches and the market hasn't slowed down, we should be able to, you know, sell over asking. And I'm not telling you guys to buy homes and plan on it selling over asking. I'm just speaking from data from the last 6 flips that we've sold. All of them except for one has sold above asking. So, you know, the data speaks for itself. I always plan for the worst case, but I also hope for the best. Next, we're on the north side a little bit, but this is the property on Blacksmith. This is my rental that I told you guys I changed the garage into a bedroom, and I did end up having some complications with the HOA, and I'm gonna have to make some changes to the home, but I'm gonna do that after my refinance is complete. But if everything goes well and I'm able to finish that out in the next couple weeks, I will get paid to buy a house that's gonna cash flow me around $300 to $400 a month, and I'll gain a bunch of equity, as the appraisal came back about 20 grand higher than I thought it would, which is excellent because I ended up spending about an extra 12 to 15 over what I thought I would. So I'll be able to get that back and then get extra money, which I'll then throw into savings. But you know, that's why we buy these deals. And just to give you a quick reference on numbers, I purchased that house for $60,000, and I ended up putting around 70,000, a little under, but we'll just say 70 for simple numbers, and then it ended up appraising for around $201,000. So that's just amazing. And if you guys do, you know, 70, I can actually go up to 75%, and it's going to be a great BRRRR deal, perfect BRRRR deal. So that's why I love real estate, guys. Next, we have the property on Loreno Woods. This one's super up north, almost in Conroe as well, but this is a property we've had for a couple of months, and it's been a really good property. We just had a couple buyers back out, and then with the buyer that we have, they're a hedge fund, and basically they're taking forever to close. We had some things come up on the inspection report, so we took care of those, and now we should be closing next week, knock on wood. But we purchased that home for $110,000 as well, actually $111,000, and we put about $45,000 into it, and we're going to be selling it for around $200,000. So it's a pretty good deal. We did take longer to sell than I normally would like, but you know, not every deal is going to go as you plan. So that's why, once again, we buy really good deals. Now, I know I'm throwing properties at you guys left and right, and like I said, I really hope you're keeping up. We have 2 more left, and then I'm just going to give you guys the number of properties that we have on contract, and then I'm going to break down and review the total number of properties. Maybe you've been keeping track and you know the number that we're on, but I'm going to give you the total number and the total number of debt that we have all together as well. Next, we have Avenger or Avenger, however you say it. This is another property that we purchased from Steven a few months ago, and we're at the tail end of it. We're actually about to close on it within the next week with the new buyer. They were an FHA buyer, so we got delayed because, as you guys know, with FHA guidelines, you have to own the property or season it for 90 days. So on the 91st day, we can actually get the process going. It's a crazy rule, but you know, it is what it is, and I totally forgot about it it, but we got such a good deal on it. So we picked this property up for $130,000 and we put right under $25,000 into it, and we actually sold the property for $215,000. So it's a really good deal. I'm not complaining about the delays, and the buyer is strong, and we should close in the next 5 days, fingers crossed as well. And the last property that we actually own right now is a property on Edgebrook, and this is actually very east. It's in Baytown. It's a city by the ports, and it's actually a smaller little town, but it's a really good property. And I bought this from a buddy of mine. He is a wholesaler here in Houston, and we picked up this property for $125,000, and we're gonna end up putting around $50,000 into it. So all in all, we'll be in closing costs, everything right above $180,000, and it should sell for around $230,000, which is what we're planning. This is another one of those properties that it was supposed to be a $35,000 to $40,000 rehab, and then things happen, like the back of the house was sinking a lot worse than we thought. So when they fixed the foundation, we realized that we had to put in a French drain, and just these things snowballed. But I'm excited. The house is going to turn out great, and you know, not every deal is a home run. Ben and I are all about base hits, as you guys can tell, and sometimes you'll get those, you know, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 deals in there. And I lied. I actually have one more property on Sage Leaf, and this is actually an amazing deal. This is the property that we purchased with Hoarders. If you guys remember, we had people that this lady, she found us on SEO, and you know, she had a problem with squatters. This was a deal that she was going through probate, and these people moved into her house of May of 2020. So they had been living there almost 2 years rent free, and then the home was in foreclosure. She never even got to get her mom's items out of the house. So we basically went to the squatters. We offered them cash for keys, and we paid for rent for their new place, and we assisted them with moving, and we got them out in actually about 22 days. So we picked up this property for $127,000, cleaned it up, mowed the yard, trashed it out, sent the lady her mother's items, and we relisted it for $200,000, actually $199,000, and it sold over for $210,000. And I just ran the numbers because we're actually closing on that one tomorrow, selling it to a buyer who is a hedge fund, and we're gonna make around $61,000 on that deal. And those are my favorite types of deals, the ones that, yeah, it required some work getting the squatters out, but that's something that we've dealt with before. We knew they were lying, they knew they were lying, but we were able to get them out in a timely manner. The lady was happy because we were actually able to pay more than she was asking, and so she was super ecstatic, and then we made a healthy profit as well. Now, not all deals, like I said, are gonna go this good, but if I could only do those deals, I would. Now, if you guys are keeping track, that puts us right at 21 properties that we currently own that are all in different stages, and that's with 3 different lenders, and the total amount that we are in debt is $3,031,000. Now that's crazy, right? We're in debt $3 million, but if you looked at the equity, I mean, we have so much equity, and even though we have those 2 little lawsuit deals and other things going bad, I feel very comfortable with where we're at, because we, you know, with wholesaling, it taught us to buy really good deals at a very deep discount. So I'm not worried. Our lenders are happy, and like I said, in the next week we're offloading 3 of these properties, and we have another 3 hitting the market in the next week as well. So things are moving along exactly how they should, and it's not been a bad month of locking up properties either. See, even though we have so much on our plate, you have to realize real estate, if you let off the gas, you lose momentum. And for Ben and I, that's not what we're trying to do. And our lenders keep giving us more and more money because we keep paying them back on a regular schedule. And even though we have a couple problem properties, we always take care of our lenders, and they take care of us. So with that being said, we've still been contracting a lot of properties, and right now as it sits, we have 8 properties under contract, and of those 8, 7 of them should close. We just found out that one of them, it's probably not going to close, and if it does, it's going to take about 6 months. But hey, we still may buy it in 6 months. We'll see what happens. And then there's only one more property that it's on the fence right now, but we should have an answer by the end of the week if it's going to close or not. But even if those 2 fall off, we still have 6 more properties that are all at 70% or less, meaning that we bought really good deals, and we're still looking. I actually put in offers on 3 new properties today alone, and we should at least get one of those. But even if not, we're constantly looking at deals. And I think that's the main takeaway from this, is even though we have a lot going on, we're constantly looking for more and more deals, because things are going to happen, deals are going to fall apart, title issues are going to happen. It is what it is, but we keep working, we keep trying to get to the finish line. Now, I know there's so much to, take in from this video, and if you have to watch it multiple times, I totally understand, but I really just gave you guys an inside look at our deal flow and everything that we have going on from A to Z, literally on all 21 of our deals. So if you guys made it this far, I truly appreciate you. If you guys haven't already, like, subscribe, turn on the post notification as I drop weekly videos like this. If you want to see what my vlogs and daily life looks like, check out some of those other videos. And if you're not already, make sure you're following me on Instagram and TikTok, because I drop daily content there multiple times a day. So I really appreciate you guys. Until next time, peace.